Charles Oliveira injury against Max Holloway even after their fight still remains a mystery, but now they're ready for their upcoming fight. Charles Oliveira first fought Max Holloway long ago in 2015. The fight didn't complete as it was anticipated. It was very short because Charles got hurt 99 seconds after the fight started. Charles tried to grapple Max Holloway down to the ground, but when he stood up, he felt a pain in his neck as if something was wrong. The referee saw the intensity of the pain and stopped the fight right away. People speculated that something happened with his throat, but doctors in the hospital couldn't decide what was wrong with him. Still, till date, it's a mystery that not even Oliveira's coach knows what happened to him. Almost 10 years have passed since that accident, and now these two fighters are coming to face each other in the rematch at UFC 326 for a BMF title. Both have become crazy fighters, with Charles being known as the Submission King and Max being known as the best boxer of UFC. Both are best fighters having their respective cult fan bases. It will be very exciting to see them at their full potential competing against each other. Before going towards the next news, make sure to subscribe to stay updated about the MMA world. Arman said that Islam Makhachev was the only lightweight who could potentially out-wrestle him, and now the Arman is the best wrestler in the lightweight division. Arman Tsarukyan is a very phenomenal fighter in the lightweight division, being known for his wrestling skills. He fought against the Islam a few years ago and lost a very close match. Both are crazy wrestlers, but recently Arman Tsarukyan was training with the Mighty Mouse, where Arman was asked about his opinion about the best fighter in the lightweight division. Arman said that he is the best among all the current fighters of the lightweight division. He credited Islam that he was the only fighter who could out-wrestle him because of his calm nature of fighting without wasting much energy. Islam decided to leave the 155-pound division to go fight even bigger men at 170 pounds. Islam is gone, and now Arman feels like there is nobody left who can beat him on the ground. Now that he does not have to worry about Islam, Arman is very confident that he will dominate everyone else. He has been winning many matches lately and even beat a very famous college wrestling star in a grappling contest. Arman believes he is the premier grappler in the UFC right now and is ready to show the world that he should be the new king of the lightweights. Tom Aspinall shares shocking image of his eyes after surgery. The heavyweight champion had to have surgery on both eyes after a bad accident during his last title fight. Tom Aspinall is the heavyweight champion, but he had a very scary injury in his last fight against Ciryl Gane. Only 15 seconds after the fight started, he got poked in both eyes by accident. He could not see well enough to keep fighting, so the match was stopped and called a no contest. Doctors found out that he had a special eye condition that made it hard for his eyes to move together correctly. He suffered from seeing double for a long time after the injury happened. To fix his vision, Tom had to have surgery on both of his eyes. He shared a picture of himself after the operation, and his eyes looked very red and swollen. His team of eye doctors is working closely with him to help him get back to fighting fitness so he can return to the octagon. Many fans are worried about him, but they hope he heals quickly so he can fight Ciryl Gane again in a rematch. Tom is staying strong and hopes to show everyone he is still the best in the world once he can see clearly again. Dricus du Plessis criticizes Khamzat Chimaev for a terrible fight and wants to compete against him again. Dricus du Plessis got defeated by the Khamzat Chimaev 6 months ago with the loss of his middleweight belt. He felt the fight to be boring as the Khamzat was only using his wrestling skills and not giving the chance to Dricus du Plessis to use the moves in which he is good at. He also declared that it was a very fun way to become a champion. Now the Dricus du Plessis is training very hard to compete against Khamzat again. He wished to fight Khamzat in April at the Miami event, but do you think that Dana White will allow it or not? Let me know in the comment section. He said this will be one of the most important fights of his life. Dricus really wants to fight Khamzat again so he can prove he is better. He knows that Khamzat is a very strong wrestler, but he says he will be ready for any surprises next time. Khamzat has been talking about moving to a heavier weight class to fight other champions, but Dricus wants him to stay and defend the belt. Dricus is very confident and promised his fans that he will have his championship belt back before the end of this year. He is waiting for a contract so he can start his journey back to the top. Dustin Porier shows off gnarly broken toe suffered in training even though he is retired from professional fighting. Dustin Porier is a legendary fighter who decided to stop competing in the UFC after a long and great career. His last fight was a huge battle against Max Holloway in his hometown of New Orleans. It was a very tough fight where both men hit each other very hard and Dustin was knocked down a few times. Even though he lost the fight by a decision, everyone was proud of him because he fought with a lot of heart and left everything in the octagon. He finished his career with 30 wins and many awards for having the best fights of the night. While he is retired, Dustin still goes to the gym to train because he loves being a martial artist. Recently, he shared a picture of a very bad injury he got during practice, a broken toe that was bending the wrong way. He showed it to the camera to let everyone see how painful it looked. Dustin has had many injuries like this before, but he always stays tough. While he says he might come back for one more special fight, it seems like he is mostly enjoying his time away from the professional sport for now. Strickland thinks he is the only one who can beat Khamzat Chimaev. Strickland is frustrated because the champion does not fight very often and says he is the one to stop him. Strickland is getting ready for a big fight in Houston against a tough wrestler named Anthony Hernandez. Strickland is upset because he thinks the current champion, Khamzat Chimaev, is like a pop star who only fights once a year. He says that Khamzat gets special gifts and money from powerful people, so he doesn't feel like he needs to fight as much as the other guys. Also thinks that Khamzat uses small injuries as an excuse to stay away from the octagon for a long time. Believes that he is the only fighter who has the right style to beat Khamzat in a real fight. He even claims that his next opponent, Fluffy Hernandez, is actually a better wrestler than the champion. Says he would rather stay busy and fight many times a year to make more money than wait around for a title shot that might never happen. He thinks it is bad for the sport when a champion sits on the belt and doesn't defend it against the best challengers. Should the UFC scrap its heavyweight division? Some experts are debating if the UFC should get rid of the heavyweight division because the recent fights have been poor. Some people who write about fighting are having a big argument about the heavyweight division. They say that lately the fights between the biggest men have been very slow and not very exciting to watch. The fighters often get tired very fast, and sometimes the big title fights end in a mess, like when a fighter got poked in the eye and the match had to stop. One writer thinks the talent in the division is at its worst point in many years and that the UFC should just stop the division for a while. Other experts think the division should stay because things will get better soon. They believe that new young athletes are starting to join the UFC who will be much faster and more skilled. They are excited about a new wrestler named Gable Stevenson, who many people think will be a future champion. Even though some top fighters were recently fired for having boring matches, these experts believe the big boys will eventually make the division great again. They say we should just wait and see what happens next. Walter Walker submits Zion Clark at Karate Combat 59. Walter Walker used his size and wrestling skills to win a unique fight against Zion Clark. Walter is a heavyweight fighter of the UFC who competed in a very special karate event called Karate Combat. He fought against a fighter named Zion Clark, who is very famous among the combat sports fans because he was born without the legs. This fight was very strange, and even as there was immense size difference between them, Zion is a very high-paced fighter who managed to get towards the backside of the Walter early in the fight. Eventually, Walter used his strength to get behind Zion and put him in a rear naked choke. Zion tapped out and Walter won the contest.